Good morning. Thank y'all for being here. I'm Jimmy Patronis. I'm Florida's CFO. I get to be the state fire marshal, and as we're in a situation right now, I'm not telling anybody what they don't know, that Florida's insurance market is in trouble. We're seeing private carriers exit the state. We're seeing Citizens Insurance policy grow in numbers. And according to Citizens Insurance, we will probably cross the $1 million threshold the $1 million policy number by the end of this year. One of the main causes of the increasing insurance rates that we're faced is because of fraud. And that's what brings us here today. Insurance fraud, it's messy, it's complex, it takes time to prosecute. For example, in 2014, Citizens noticed a suspicious number of claims that involved a public adjusting firm, a water mitigation company, and a Miami-based law firm. Citizens discovered through this pattern 5,000 claims were filed against the state-backed insurance of last resort. So these cases were then referred to our Insurance Fraud Investigative Division. These were suspicious because the claims never came directly from the policyholder. They came 30 to 45 days afterwards, after the damage was done, after the damage and the debris was in the landfill, and these were also often litigated cases. So as our investigators combed through 400 of these cases, it became clear that the Miami-based law firm Strems was a major player in the fraud. Now, through a sophisticated strategy, the Strems firm would collude with a public adjuster and then a water mitigation company to submit inflated claims to Citizens, as well as other private insurers in our state. Citizens took the evidence, filed a lawsuit against the Strems law firm and its partners for violating different federal and state racketeering acts, in addition to the Florida Deceptive, Unfair, and Trade Practices Acts, in addition to fraud. Almost immediately after the suit was filed by Citizens, the fraudulent conduct that had cost the state millions of dollars stopped. So remember, this is fraud. This is a crime. So I'm proud here today with our folks and the Citizens folks, to announce a settlement has been reached with the Strems law firm and its co-defendants. In addition to stopping this multi-million-dollar scheme dead in its tracks, $1 million will be returned back to Citizens Insurance, the insurance company of last resort that the state of Florida has been the creator of. I would like to have y'all to please join me in praising and giving my guys a round of applause. The importance of this is the single largest settlement in the history of Citizens Insurance by a single entity. Had this fraud continued unchecked, it would ultimately cost the taxpayers of the state of Florida $16 million a year. Because this misconduct was discovered, the investigation, the Strems firm has now been disbanded. 2 of its attorneys, including Scott Strems, has been suspended by the Florida Supreme Court. Moreover, the criminal authorities are continuing to investigate this matter on criminal charges. Now, this is what we need to share, is the policyholders need to know that this type of activity is fraud, and this type of litigation increases their policy premiums. This is why your insurance rates are going up. According to the Coalition of Insurance Fraud, fraud occurs in about 10% of all claims that have been filed. The coalition surveyed insurance carriers in 2019. That report showed that 84 of those carriers had experienced increases in because of fraud, increase in litigation because of fraud. Litigation is a big problem. Florida accounts, this is a statistic I do not want you to miss. Florida accounts for 9% of all claims nationally. But it also accounts for 79% of all litigation nationally. So we are just a factory of litigation in the state of Florida, and we have got to change this culture. One report shows that the newly litigated claims raised in March, 12% over the February's numbers. Also, the intent to sue this year has raised over 24%. Luckily for policyholders, there is a chance to rein in these rates. I appreciate the wisdom and vision and sight and leadership of Governor Ron DeSantis as he has called a special session later this month to reform policy insurance policies in the state of Florida, but specifically to curb frivolous litigation and fight fraud. Florida's communities are under attack by fraudsters who are willing to do anything to game the system. And frankly, they are stealing from every single one of us. To win this war, we need troops, we need the weapons, and we need a commitment to see this mission through to the end. So in this special session, my office will be pushing forward 5 different initiatives aiming at cracking down the kind of fraud and litigation that drives up rates on every single one of us. The first proposal will be stand up 3 new anti-fraud homeowner squads. These squads will be in addition to the 2 that the legislature funded last year that are along the I-4 corridor. To stand up these squads, the department will request for 23 new positions, 15 detectives, 3 supervisors to work the cases, 3 attorneys, and 1 administrator to prosecute the cases, and 1 analyst to help expedite the investigations. These teams will cover Jacksonville, Fort Lauderdale, and Miami. The teams will live and breathe property insurance fraud, and they will give state attorneys good cases in order to prosecute and accelerate at a pace where these fraudsters can be sent to jail. By placing these new teams in areas where lots of fraud occurs, not only will we hold those criminals accountable, we'll provide more deterrence and ultimately potential savings to the homeowners of the state of Florida. Second, I'm proposing $3 million in fraud and public education campaign. In many instances, especially we see it after Northwest Florida saw it, hometown of Panama Cities where Hurricane Michael hit. We saw it there. Policyholders don't understand that they're signing their rights away. They are literally giving a blank check to the rights to their claim to somebody they may not even know personally across their doorstep. They don't know that litigation that could take place will slow down their claim, or it may even result in a lien against their property. And I remind people all the time, if it sounds too good to be true, it is. Moreover, these fraudsters need to know when they break the law, they will go to jail. The level of fraud that is occurring in Florida's communities really needs to be curbed, and we need a comprehensive, well-funded public education campaign to combat these complex cases. Third, for key TAM cases, we're proposing to amend Florida's False Claims Act to allow whistleblowers to recover damages. Key TAM cases are where the general public can file a whistleblower claim over fraud without necessarily being a victim or not necessarily being part of the fraud taking place. This is a reporting mechanism that will incentivize the public to come forward and report the fraud taking place. This dovetails into our 4th proposal, which is going to incentivize people financially to call our Florida Fraud Fighter tip line. Currently, right now, the way that tip line works and the reward works, it's only if a conviction takes place. We want to change the terms of that it's not just a conviction, but an arrest. So those tipsters are now eligible for $25,000 to get that program in a position where we're having more participation with the general public. And finally, our 5th proposal will make changes to the AOB laws, including banning the bundling of these assignment of benefits. I want to restate that the assignment of benefits, it is literally assigning your benefits to somebody else. So what we want to do is make sure the public is aware of exactly what this activity is. Much of the fraud and abuse in our legal system we have highlighted this morning started with a policyholder assigning their benefits away to somebody else, to a fraudster. We cannot allow law firms, public adjusters to get into the business of bundling these AOBs and selling them the same way you would a security for a profit. I want to deter this feeding frenzy of bad actors going after our consumers to sell AOBs on the open market, which again, ultimately drives up rates, which drives carriers out of the state of Florida because the environment allows that type of activity to exist in the first place. I'm so happy and proud of Governor DeSantis' leadership in ensuring this special session is going to address specific things like this. We need to stop this practice dead in its tracks. and we'll work with the legislature this session to ban exactly that.